"She's my real mom," my stepdaughter said while cropping me out of her graduation photos. "I raised you for 12 years, and this is how you erase me?" I asked. "We didn't have space for you," she replied. So I cut off every dollar, blocked them all, and when she came asking for help, I sent her a $1 transfer titled, "Let your real mom pay now." "She's my real mom," she said, tapping the phone screen as if that settled everything. I stared at the picture she was posting, her in a white cap and gown, standing between her biological mother and her father, my husband. I was there that day too. I took half those photos. But in the version she posted, I didn't exist. Cropped out. Erased. I took a breath and asked, as calmly as I could, "I raised you for 12 years, and this is how you erase me?" She didn't flinch. Didn't even pause. "We didn't have space for you," she said, her thumbs moving across the phone screen. My throat burned, but I refused to cry in front of her. I turned and walked away before the words came out too raw. She didn't follow. Of course she didn't. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed while my husband snored beside me, blissfully unaware. My phone buzzed. It was her. "Can you help me with rent this month? We're short." I stared at the screen. Then I opened my banking app and sent her exactly $1 with a note that said, "Let your real mom pay now." And that was the moment I snapped. But the truth? That snap had been building for years. This is not just a story about one photo. It's about what happens when love is taken for granted, when sacrifices are invisible, and when the people you raise decide you were never family to begin with. I never planned to be anyone's mother. And definitely not a stepmother. But life doesn't exactly ask for your permission, does it? I met Eric when I was 28. He was kind, grounded, and unlike the string of overgrown boys I'd dated before, he actually followed through on his promises. He was a single dad, full custody of a 6-year-old daughter named Lacey. Her mom had left when she was 4. "She's not in the picture anymore," he said the first time we talked about it. Just couldn't handle it. The first time I met Lacey, she hid behind Eric's legs and whispered, "Are you gonna stay?" I should have known then. 12 years later, I'm still the one who made her lunch every morning. Who walked her to the bus stop. Who held her when she cried because other kids said she didn't have a real mom. I sat through every school recital, bought her first bra, nursed her through her first heartbreak, and worked overtime shifts to afford her dance classes when Eric's hours got cut. Did I give birth to her? No. But I gave her everything a mother could. And I did it without ever asking for recognition. I wasn't doing it for applause. I just loved her. I loved her more than I thought possible for a child that didn't come from my own body. And that love blinded me to everything. To how Eric started defaulting to me for everything parenting related. To how Lacey began calling me mom only when she needed something. To how I was expected to give, but never really included when decisions were made. "Hey, we decided Lacey's going to that private arts camp for the summer," Eric said one evening after work. "We?" I raised an eyebrow. "Since when do we make decisions without me?" He looked confused, like he genuinely didn't get it. "Well, you're the one with the better credit score. Can you put the deposit on your card? I'll pay you back." Spoiler: he didn't. The camp cost me $3,200. I skipped a vacation for that. We ate pasta for 3 months. But Lacey was happy, and that's all I wanted. Then there was the therapy bill. Then prom dress shopping. Then SAT prep. Then her first car. And every single time I asked, "Are we sure we can afford this?" the answer was the same. "You know we wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." I became the invisible parent. The one who paid, managed, worried. But never counted. The truth started to crack through the surface a year before graduation. I remember the first time it really hit me, how little I actually mattered in that house. It was Lacey's 17th birthday. I planned the party. I baked the cake myself. I strung lights in the backyard. I paid for the food, decorations, everything. Her friends came. Her bio mom even showed up for 15 awkward minutes, smiling like she'd never missed a single year of her daughter's life. I was taking photos when Lacey stood next to her and said, "Let's get one together, just me and my mom." I froze. Eric looked at me and muttered, "She didn't mean it like that." But she did. Oh, she meant it. That photo made it to Instagram. Captioned, "Me and my real mama couldn't have made it without you." No mention of me. Not even a tag. I stared at that photo for days, wondering why it hurt so much. I mean, I'm the adult, right? I should be above this. But I wasn't. I had sacrificed too much to be this invisible. Then graduation came. I was the one who ironed her gown the night before. The one who bought the silver heels she begged for. I sat 3 rows behind her mom, who hadn't shown up to a single parent-teacher conference in 12 years. I clapped the loudest when she walked across the stage. But in the photos she posted the next day, I wasn't in a single one. I stood next to her for pictures. I smiled. I cheered. But when she uploaded the album, she cropped me out. Literally. I saw my shoulder in one. That's all I was. A shoulder. I asked her, later that night, why am I not in any of the pictures? She didn't even look up from her phone. We didn't have space for you. No space. After 12 years of raising her. No space. That's when I started to see everything differently. Like someone had cleaned the glass I'd been peering through all this time. I looked back at the way Eric deferred to her, how he never stood up for me. How, when I brought up the photo thing, he shrugged and said, "Teenagers are moody. Don't take it so personally." Personal? Watching the girl I raised erase me from her milestones, that felt pretty personal. The final straw? She had the audacity to DM me 2 days later and ask for help. "Hey, do you think you could spot me for rent this month? Dad said he's tight and I don't want to bug Mom. Promise I'll pay you back." Same girl who cropped me out. Same girl who said there was no space for me. I didn't reply right away. I sat with it. I stared at my bank app. Then I sent her exactly $1. And I added a note. "Let your real mom pay now." And then I blocked her. Blocked Eric. Blocked her mom. Blocked every last one of them. Blocking them should have felt like peace. Instead, it felt like lighting a fuse and watching it sizzle slowly toward a stick of dynamite. Eric showed up 3 days later. No warning. Just him standing outside my office building in his wrinkled polo, and that look he always wore when he wanted to fix things without actually fixing anything. "We need to talk," he said. "No," I said, walking past him. "We don't." He followed me. "You didn't have to be so cruel." I stopped and turned. Cruel? She erased me from her life, Eric. From her graduation. From everything. And now I'm cruel. She's just a kid. She's 19. He threw up his hands. "What do you want from us?" I laughed, short and sharp. Want? I wanted respect. I wanted someone to notice the 12 years I gave. But since that's not happening, I want silence. Go. But of course, they didn't leave me in peace. First came the texts. Then the voicemails. "Lacey, you didn't have to be petty. I just needed help. Eric, please don't turn this into something bigger than it is." And then, her mother called me. "Hi, this is Heather. Lacey's mom." As if I didn't know the voice of the woman who ghosted her own child and returned only for photo ops. "She's been crying. I don't know what you said to her, but she's a wreck." "Good," I said. There was a long pause. "I'm just trying to understand what you're hoping to achieve here." "I'm hoping you'll step up," I said coldly. "She says you're her real mom, right? So pay her rent. Buy her food. Handle her tantrums. I'm off duty." She exhaled like I was the unreasonable one. "You know, you always had this thing about needing to be the hero." That stung more than I expected. Because maybe I did. But it didn't mean I wasn't needed. I hung up. That night, I received a new message. From Lacey. But it wasn't a request. It was a threat. A screenshot of a post she'd drafted but hadn't published. The caption read, "Imagine being raised by someone who only gave to make themselves feel important. Imagine being punished the moment you stop needing them." The picture was of her crying. I recognized the necklace she was wearing, one I gave her when she turned 13. And then came the real twist. Attached to the message was a GoFundMe link. She'd created a fundraiser called Escaping Toxic Step-Parent Trauma. It already had $2,300 in donations. Dozens of comments. She was emotionally abusive. She held money over her head. She never let her be herself. I sat on the floor and stared at it, my entire body cold. She was rewriting our history, turning me into a villain publicly, and people were buying it. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I just sat there scrolling through the comments, the reposts. And then I noticed something, a name. One of the top donors was Eric. I felt my heart cave in. $500. His note read, "We support you always, sweetheart. No one can dim your light." That was it. That was the moment the fuse reached the dynamite. The next day, I walked into the bank. I closed our joint savings account, transferred my share, the share I built, into a new account under my name. I canceled the credit card Eric always used for emergencies, called the lawyer, started the process of dissolving the marriage. I was done. But before I left that life entirely, I had one last thing to say. I screenshotted the GoFundMe, circled Eric's donation, typed a caption, 12 years. I was her parent when no one else was. I gave my time, my money, my love. And now I get this? A GoFundMe calling me abusive? Fine. Let's rewrite the story. Just make sure to include this part. I sent it directly to Lacey. No words, just the screenshot. Then I logged into my bank app. Memo line. This chapter is closed. And I blocked her, again. But the unexpected twist? She didn't stop. A week later, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from her lawyer. Lacey was filing for reimbursement for emotional damages incurred due to parental overreach. She was suing me. I stood in the kitchen, clutching the letter, laughing like a lunatic. 12 years. Of daycare pickups. Late-night fevers. Missed promotions. Financial strain. Love. And now? She wanted to bill me for it. That was when I realized. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. And I was finally ready to fight back. I didn't cry when I got the letter. I didn't scream. I laughed. Lacey was suing me. Me. For emotional damages. For parental overreach. 12 years of being the default parent while her biological mom disappeared into wine nights and yoga retreats, and now I was the threat? No. No, not today. I took the letter, marched straight to my lawyer's office, dropped it on his desk and said, "Let the truth be known. I want full clarity." He blinked. "You want to settle?" "I want to expose." And that's exactly what we did. We built the whole case, piece by piece. 12 years of receipts. Bank transfers with memos. Ballet shoes. SAT prep. Field trip lunch. Emails from the school listing me as the primary guardian. Medical bills under my insurance. Photos. Videos. Birthday card signed mom. And the cherry on top? An old voicemail from Lacey when she was 16. Crying after a fight with her bio mom. "I hate her. You're my real mom. I love you." I saved it. I don't know why. Maybe deep down I knew one day I'd need to remind myself that it was real. That I was real. Now it would remind the court too. The lawsuit never made it to trial, because 2 weeks before the hearing, her own lawyer dropped the case. Apparently, once he saw the file my attorney sent over, the evidence, the bank statements, the voicemail, he told her, flat out, "This will ruin you, not her." She tried to pivot. Tried to spin the narrative. She posted another Instagram story. "Some people need to feel important. But we rise anyway, #healing, #truth. I watched from a burner account. And then I did something I never thought I would. I posted a story of my own. A picture of a check. $48,753. The amount I had spent on her across 12 years. Caption. "You wanted receipts? Here. This is what love looks like when it's not returned. Now pay your own rent." It went viral. Not because I wanted it to, but because real people, saw themselves in it. The step-parents who raised children never acknowledged. The women erased from milestones. The givers who were always called too much until they stopped giving. Eric called that night. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. "You didn't have to humiliate her," he said. I took a deep breath. "No, Eric. I didn't humiliate her. She did that to herself. I just stopped covering it up." There was silence. Then he muttered, "She's only a kid. She's 19. And you, You're worse. You were supposed to protect me, too. I didn't know it would go this far. You never do. That's your problem. I hung up. He messaged the next day, saying he wanted to talk in person. I never replied. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend told me he'd moved in with Lacey's mom, Heather. Of course. They deserve each other. Two people who only show up when there's something in it for them. But the best part? Lacey's GoFundMe crashed. People found the receipts. The truth. My story. They pulled their donations. She tried to delete the page, but it was too late. Screenshots had already flooded Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. Girl sues stepmom who raised her, gets wrecked. Even her college got wind of it. Someone tipped them off about the accusations in the lawsuit and her attempt to profit from them online. Her scholarship, one I helped her apply for, was revoked. It wasn't my doing. I didn't report her. But I didn't feel sorry either. This is what happens when you bite the hand that raised you and then frame it for abuse. I moved out of the house. Sold my half of the furniture. Left the keys on the counter with a sticky note. Since you like rewriting stories, here's a new one. She left. And she never looked back. I rented a small apartment. Nothing fancy. But it was quiet. And mine. And it didn't smell like betrayal. For weeks, I didn't hear a word from them. No apology. No explanation. No attempt to fix it. But then, about a month after everything, I got a letter. From Lacey. Handwritten. In ink. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. My gut twisted the whole time. Inside. I made a mistake. I see that now. I was angry, and I didn't know where to put it. You didn't deserve what I did. You were more of a mom than my own ever was. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know the truth now that it's too late. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in a drawer. I'm not ready to forgive. Maybe I never will. But for the first time in over a decade, I'm not responsible for anyone else's growth. And that feels like freedom. I used to think closure came with an apology. That if you waited long enough, if you hurt quietly, gave people space, stayed the bigger person, one day they'd come back. With regret. With truth. With softness in their eyes. But closure isn't an apology. Closure is walking away while they're still lying. And that's exactly what I did. After I read Lacey's letter, I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I finally understood. She wasn't ready to give me what I needed. And for once, I wasn't going to shrink myself to accommodate her growth. I took that letter, sealed it back into the envelope, and placed it in a box with other things I once thought were sacred: old Mother's Day cards, a photo of us at the beach, a pair of ballet shoes from her first recital that I once swore I'd keep forever. I didn't throw them away. But I didn't display them anymore either. They weren't memories now. They were evidence. Evidence that I tried. Evidence that I was there. Even when no one else was. I sold the house. Took the equity and used it to move across the country, somewhere coastal, where no one knew my name and no one knew hers. I got a job as an operations manager in a nonprofit. Irony, right? All those years of unpaid labor, now I finally got paid to run other people's lives. Only this time, I got to go home to silence. To peace. No slamming doors. No teenage guilt trips. No husband pretending to be caught in the middle when really, he just didn't want to be uncomfortable. For the first few weeks, I waited for the phone to ring. I told myself I didn't care. But every time it buzzed, my stomach knotted. What if it's her? What if she's in trouble? What if she's changed? But it never was. And eventually, I stopped hoping it would be. Instead, I built a life. One without apology. I joined a community garden. Took cooking classes. Started going on hikes. Got a dog, a big, clumsy golden retriever who didn't ask for anything except my attention and affection. Imagine that. Her name? Karma. I told myself it was just a joke. But every time she laid her head on my lap after a long day, I couldn't help but think, some love is real, even when it isn't blood. One afternoon, I was at the dog park when a younger woman struck up a conversation. She had that nervous energy of someone who's been through hell and hasn't quite found her way out. We talked about rescue animals, trauma, and eventually, somehow, step-parenting. My partner's kid. She hates me, the woman said, voice low. Sometimes I think no matter what I do, I'll always be the outsider. I looked at her for a long moment and said, then stop trying to belong where you're only tolerated. She blinked. That's harsh. It's necessary. She paused. Did it ever get better for you? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached into my phone and pulled up a picture, Karma lying on the floor, tongue out, paws splayed, eyes full of devotion. This one never cropped me out of anything. She laughed. And I laughed too. And it wasn't bitter this time. It was honest. A few months later, I got a message from someone unexpected. Not Lacey. Not Eric. But Brian, Lacey's ex-boyfriend from college. The quiet one. The one she dumped during her influencer era. He wrote, Hey, I saw everything that happened. Just wanted to say, I always saw how much you did for her. Some of us noticed. She just didn't know how lucky she was. I don't know why that message hit me so hard. But it did. Because for 12 years, I thought no one noticed. But someone did. Someone always does. I screenshotted it. Saved it in the same folder where I kept her voicemail. Not because I needed proof anymore, but because healing isn't linear. Some days, you need reminders that you weren't crazy. That you weren't the villain. That your love was real, even if it was rejected. And as for Lacey? I heard she dropped out of college. Her scholarship was gone, and with no support system left to manipulate, reality finally sank in. She moved back in with her mom. Apparently, that didn't last long either. Heather may have loved her in the comments section, but not in actual life. Last I checked, she was working part-time at a boutique, selling dresses to girls who still think the world owes them something. Eric? Still with Heather. At least for now. From what I hear, they argue a lot. She blames him for losing control of Lacey. He blames her for being absent all those years. Neither blames themselves. How poetic. And me? I sleep. I wake up. I make coffee in a kitchen no one yells in. And every time someone asks if I have kids, I smile and say, I used to. They never know what to say after that. And that's fine. Because the truth is complicated. But my peace is not. I don't regret loving Lacey. I don't regret the years, the money, the holidays, the scraped knees I kissed, or the math homework I stayed up explaining. What I regret is not leaving sooner. But I'm here now. I'm whole. And the next time someone calls me just a stepmom, I'll smile and say, no, I was the mom. She just didn't recognize it until it was too late.